Police successfully defused the Korea Bay bomb. Hong Kong braces for a potential super typhoon next week. And cyber attacks at major European airports. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The wartime bomb found in a Korea Bay construction site last night was defused late this morning. The police's Explosive Ordnance Disposal Bureau said poor weather had affected its pace of defusing the World War II bomb. The U.S.-made bomb was defused just before noon on Saturday, after officers started the disposal process at 2 a.m. The Musanga reports.
Fumes of black smoke released into the sky. This was outside a construction site on 16 to 22 Panhoi Street, Korea Bay, at around 11:30 a.m. This video shows the moment when the bomb was incinerated by the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Bureau, or EOD. Piles of sandbags were used to surround the bomb as a means to protect against flying debris. In the end, the top of the tent was burned down, emitting a large amount of black smoke. Speaking to the media, the EOD said the entire operation lasted about 9 hours. Officers used 4 hours to cut a 1-foot hole on the bomb shell before they could incinerate the bomb. Describing the 500 pounds of explosives within the wartime bomb as extremely powerful, authorities said the bomb almost retained the same level of destructive force as the one had during the 1940s. When asked if they could have accelerated that disposal process, the EOD said the rain had delayed their work progress by an hour or two.
Our estimation of the operation within the 12 hours range is considered to be very conservative. We could compare about this timeline to some of the overseas advanced countries that usually are disposing or diffusing the similar object or ordnance. It takes about days or weeks. But Hong Kong, usually we will try to manage it within a day or not more than a day.
The EOD says they often collaborate with construction workers, asking them to contact the Bureau immediately if they have discovered a suspected bomb on site. Members 9, TVB News.
Authorities evacuated about 6,000 Korea Bay residents from 18 buildings on Friday night before the bomb disposal process. The government opened community centers and temporary shelters to accommodate affected individuals, while some opted to stay in nearby hotels and a number of people had to pay more than $1,000. A Taikoo resident who is not affected by the evacuation said the decision was understandable.
I don't think there are too many public utilities that can accommodate 6,000 people nearby. If some residents are rich enough to stay in a hotel for one night, so that's fine.
In the afternoon, groups of residents returned home after spending a night at the centers or shelters. Just as Tropical Cyclone Metak left the region, Tropical Storm Ragasa has strengthened into a typhoon. The observatory forecasts that on Wednesday, Ragasa could bring winds of up to Beaufort Scale 11 to offshore and highland areas in Hong Kong. Storm surge effects will likely drive coastal water levels close to those seen during Typhoon Hato in 2017 and Super Typhoon Mangkhut in 2018. Rain bands associated with Tropical Cyclone Metak swept across the city, having brought squally showers and thunderstorms. The Hong Kong Observatory issued the amber rainstorm warning early this morning, which had been enforced for nearly 11 hours. Several districts recorded more than 40 millimeters of rainfall, while Chek Lap Kok saw particularly heavy downpours, with accumulated rainfall exceeding 300 millimeters. Meanwhile, another system, Tropical Storm Ragasa, has strengthened into a typhoon east-northeast of Manila. It is forecast to track towards the Luzon Strait over the next 1 to 2 days and intensify significantly, with the potential to reach super typhoon strength by midweek as it approaches the coast of Guangdong. Satellite images show that Ragasa's circulation is extensive, with its outer subsiding air expected to affect Hong Kong on Monday and Tuesday, ushering in very hot temperatures. After that, the weather conditions are forecast to deteriorate with strong gusts, heavy squalls, thunderstorms, and storm surges.
佢嘅風力預測都係比較強勁。
A Hong Kong Observatory senior scientific officer says Ragasa is expected to come closest to the city on Wednesday, passing to the south of Hong Kong. She adds that storm surge effects could possibly ratchet up coastal water to the level seen during typhoons Hato in 2017 and Mangkhut in 2018. Several airlines have already adjusted their policies in anticipation of disruption from Ragasa. Cathay Pacific said it would waive rebooking and rerouting charges for all flights to and from Hong Kong between Tuesday and Thursday. Greater Bay Airlines also offered travel flexibility, allowing passengers with departures between Tuesday and Thursday to rebook within 7 days of their original travel date. Travelers scheduled to fly on Wednesday may also request a refund within 14 days, with related fees waived. Hong Kong Airlines also expects possible delays and cancellations during the 3-day window and confirmed it would waive rebooking and rerouting charges for affected services. Meanwhile, a cyber attack has disrupted operations at several major European airports, including London's Heathrow, Brussels, and Berlin, causing flight delays and cancellations. Brussels Airport says the attack means that only manual check-in and boarding was possible there, and the incident had a large impact on flight schedules. Authorities at Berlin's Brandenburg Airport and Linda's Heathrow Airport say their passenger systems for check-in and boarding are affected. The airports advised travelers to check their flight status. The U.S. is edging closer to a partial government shutdown after the Senate rejected a short-term funding measure passed earlier by the House of Representatives. The Senate blocked it with 44 in favor of the Republican drafted plan, but 48 opposed, failing to reach the required 60 votes. A Democratic alternative also failed, with both chambers now at an impasse and the deadline to renew federal funding expiring at midnight on September 30th. The risk of a government shutdown is rising. Not surprisingly, the two major parties blamed each other. President Donald Trump said the country could end up closed for a period of time, but that it will continue to take care of the military and social security payments. And still ahead, Russian jets purportedly entering Estonian airspace. British couple lands in Qatar after freed by Taliban. Look who's coming to Victoria Harbour and in October. President Xi Jinping has held a phone conversation with his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump on Friday and made progress on a deal to keep TikTok operating in the U.S. Xi has urged Trump to refrain from taking unilateral trade restrictions to keep trade ties from getting worse. The pair are set to meet at an Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum in South Korea later this year. Danny Zhou has a story.
During the nearly 2-hour-long call, she said the recent China-US trade talks have demonstrated the spirit of equality, respect, and mutual benefit. As for the TikTok issue, she said China's position is clear. He added Beijing respects the wishes of the company and is glad to see a solution that aligned with Chinese laws and balanced interests. Xi was also quoted as saying that Washington needs to provide an open, fair, and non-discriminatory business environment for Chinese enterprises to invest in the US. Speaking to reporters at the White House, Trump framed their phone call in positive terms.
I had a great call with President Xi, and as you know, he approved the TikTok deal, and we're in the process. We have some great investors, some of the biggest in the world, American investors, great people, and we look forward to getting that deal closed.
He praised Xi as a gentleman in the negotiations and said the deal is well on its way. But Trump remains vague on the question of whether China would continue to control the app's algorithm.
The TikTok deal is well on its way, as you know, and the investors are getting ready. And I think China wanted to see it stay open, too.
ByteDance issued a statement early today thanking Trump and Xi for their concern for TikTok, without providing details on how the ownership question would be resolved. The company said it would work towards a way of continuing to serve US users that satisfy Chinese legal requirements. Trump posted on social media that he and Xi also made progress on other key issues, including trade, fentanyl, and the need to bring the war between Russia and Ukraine to an end. State media reported that Trump told Xi that the United States hopes to promote bilateral economic and trade cooperation. He called Beijing's military parade commemorating the victory of the war of resistance against Japanese aggression phenomenal and beautiful. Trump announced he would meet Xi in person on the sidelines of the APEC summit taking place in October. Additional high-level visits are on the way, with Trump planning to visit China in the early part of next year. Trump also said Xi would come to the United States at the appropriate time. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Estonia said 3 Russian fighter jets entered its airspace on Friday, raising fears in Europe over rising threats from Moscow's forces. Estonia said Russian jets threatened the country on 4 previous occasions, but this time it was unprecedentedly brazen in entering its airspace. NATO's top body will discuss the incident next week, while U.S. President Donald Trump was briefed on the breach. Nasri Karim with more.
NATO forces gathered in Bucharest, Romania on Friday to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the military alliance's Southeastern Command. The concept for the Romania division came about after Russia annexed Crimea in 2014. And in 2025, Russia is still very much concerned for NATO forces after a latest incident. 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets are said to have entered Estonian airspace without permission on Friday and stayed there for 12 minutes. It comes a week after NATO planes shot down Russian drones over Poland and raised fears that the war in Ukraine could spill over to other parts of Europe. Estonia summoned a Russian diplomat to protest the incident, while NATO's North Atlantic Council is due to convene next week. Moscow had yet to comment, while US President Donald Trump, who this week said he was let down by Russian President Vladimir Putin, was to be briefed by aides on the incident.
Well, I don't love it. I don't love it when that happens. It could be big trouble, but I'll let you know later.
Italian Air Force F-35 fighter jets, part of NATO's Baltic policing mission, responded to the Russian encroachment. NATO jets are scrambled hundreds of times most years when outside aircraft fly too close to member countries' airspace. In the latest case, Russian jets actually crossed the boundary. EU Foreign Affairs Chief Kaja Kallas, the former Prime Minister of Estonia who is visiting Brazil, said she wants countries to put more pressure on Russia.
It is clear that Russia is testing how far they can go. And we had very intensive discussions about the international situation and also regarding Russia's actions, really. And of course, our plea is also to the countries that have more close relationship with Russia is to really call them on stopping this. Of course, on our side, we see that we must show no weakness, because weakness is something that invites Russia to do more.
Nazri Karim, TVB News.
An elderly British married couple who had been detained in Afghanistan by the Taliban for nearly 8 months without official charges were freed with the help of mediation from Qatar. Peter and Barbie Reynolds had lived in Afghanistan for nearly 2 decades and were reunited with their daughter in Doha. David Garrett reports.
An Afghanistan government spokesperson says the Taliban released British couple Peter and Barbie Reynolds, who violated Afghan law.
What is good, as they say in Afghanistan.
76-year-old Barbie and 80-year-old Peter together and free, never formally charged in Afghanistan, but held for more than 7 months. They said they've been treated well in a country they adore. The BBC reported the husband and wife were detained because they used an aircraft without permission. Now allowed and happy to board this plane and heading for a reunion with their children thanks to Qatar. The British government sent their appreciation to the Gulf nation.
We've been incredibly grateful for the government of Qatar and their efforts to help release them from their detention. It is obviously up to the authorities here to determine why they were detained. But we are very grateful that at least today is a very great humanitarian day, that they will be reunited with their family.
Are you clear on what grounds they continue to be held?
They've been released now. I'm not clear what grounds they were held on, no.
And then on to Qatari ground, Peter leading the way down the steps as the couple who ran a teaching and training centre in Bamiyan in central Afghanistan were about to be reunited with their daughter, who has campaigned for their release while always at pains to stress her parents were happy living in Afghanistan. Their children had been concerned about their father's health in particular. When the Taliban regained control of Afghanistan 4 years ago, Peter and Barbie were offered the chance to leave, but they said they wanted to stay and help people. First, the couple will spend time with their family, but say if they can, they would like to return to Afghanistan, where they married in 1970. David Garrett, TVB News.
So once again, our team apologizes for having aired yesterday's story on the storm situation and the technical disruptions earlier during the newscast. And here's our latest update. Just as tropical cyclone Mitak left the region, tropical storm Ragasa has strengthened into a typhoon. The observatory forecasts that on Wednesday, Ragasa could bring winds of up to Beaufort scale 11 to offshore and highland areas in Hong Kong. Storm surge effects will likely drive coastal water levels close to those seen during Typhoon Hato in 2017 and Super Typhoon Mangkhut in 2018. Rain bands associated with tropical cyclone Mitak swept across the city, having brought squally showers and thunderstorms. The Hong Kong Observatory issued the amber rainstorm warning early this morning, which had been enforced for nearly 11 hours. Several districts recorded more than 40 millimeters of rainfall, while Chek Lap Kok saw particularly heavy downpours, with accumulated rainfall exceeding 300 millimeters. Meanwhile, another system, Tropical Storm Ragasa, has strengthened into a typhoon east-northeast of Manila. It is forecast to track towards the Luzon Strait over the next 1 to 2 days and intensify significantly, with the potential to reach super typhoon strength by midweek as it approaches the coast of Guangdong. Satellite images show that Ragasa's circulation is extensive, with its outer subsiding air expected to affect Hong Kong on Monday and Tuesday, ushering in very hot temperatures. After that, the weather conditions are forecast to deteriorate with strong gusts, heavy squalls, thunderstorms, and storm surges. A Hong Kong Observatory senior scientific officer says Ragasa is expected to come closest to the city on Wednesday, passing to the south of Hong Kong. She adds that storm surge effects could possibly ratchet up coastal water to the level seen during Typhoons Hato in 2017 and Mangkhut in 2018. Several airlines have already adjusted their policies in anticipation of disruption from Ragasa. Cathay Pacific said it would waive rebooking and rerouting charges for all flights to and from Hong Kong between Tuesday and Thursday. Greater Bay Airlines also offered travel flexibility, allowing passengers with departures between Tuesday and Thursday to rebook within 7 days of their original travel date. Travelers scheduled to fly on Wednesday may also request a refund within 14 days, with related fees waived. Hong Kong Airlines also expects possible delays and cancellations during the 3-day window and confirmed it would waive rebooking and rerouting charges for affected services. Chief Executive John Lee's latest policy address includes over 10 new measures to improve mental health, including extending a 3-tier emergency response system to upper primary school students. The city leader says he hopes the city's suicide rate can drop to 0. He also criticizes the influence of online content on youth, stressing the need to strengthen positive thinking from multiple angles. In recent years, a growing number of students and caregivers have struggled with mental strain. In the latest policy address, Chief Executive John Lee says mental health has been a concern of his administration with the rollout of 11 measures. Among them, turning the 3-tier emergency mechanism into a permanent policy and extending it to primary 4 to 6 pupils. Lee said after 2 years of trial, the mechanism has proved useful, allowing schools to identify students in need of help at an earlier stage. Speaking on a radio program, Lee says upper primary school is a bridge to secondary school life. He knows that it's hard to regulate the internet with cyberbullying and some harmful content, which can push young minds in the wrong direction, so he hopes to help teenagers overcome the challenges. With Hong Kong's suicide rate on the rise over the past 2 years, Lee has unveiled a pilot program to train mental health ambassadors. His hope is that every community can develop committed individuals able to spot those in need more quickly. The target should be 0 cases of suicide, Lee said. He says one crisis case was averted thanks to the help of a property management staff who noticed an elderly tenant who hadn't left the apartment for a long time. He says with more training to build that safety net, more people should know when to step in at critical moments. As for whether a new central agency with higher level of coordination efforts is needed, such as a mental health authority, Lee says the existing system with a mental health advisory committee is functioning, and the next step will be to strengthen performance further. Inflatable icons of popular characters Doraemon and Labubu are poised to make a splash at Victoria Harbour this October. This is part of the Sea Parade and the Bazaar, organized by Hong Kong design studio All Rights Reserved. Labubu, the furry monster character conceived by Hong Kong artist Leung Ka-sing, meets the Japanese robot cat Doraemon in Hong Kong waters, joined by Elmo of Sesame Street and McDonald's purple giant character Grimace, before their appearance near government headquarters in Admiralty in an 8-day exhibition between October 25th and November 1st. The four characters took a trial dip in the waters around Chengyi. The organizer says the event hopes to woo not just locals, but also overseas visitors. A bazaar will also be held near Tema Park, featuring characters from Snoopy, Demon Hunters, Stranger Things 5, and Squid Games. The bazaar will charge an entrance fee. And that's the news for tonight. Thank you for watching.